And there you have it, Memphis Mayor Paul Young responding for the first time today after President Trump's speech and a roundtable this afternoon in Memphis, Tennessee. Right now we continue our Team 3 coverage following the president's update on the Memphis Safe Task Force. Reaction from both supporters and opponents of the president's efforts are speaking out today. Joining us now to share his thoughts on the task force 6 months in is Dr. Kenneth Whalum Jr., a local pastor and former school board member. Dr. Whalum, welcome back to 3 at 3.
My
Good
pleasure.
to see you as always.
My pleasure, man. We missed your singing last night, but we're okay.
You were probably lucky I didn't show up at the concert for sure. Let's talk about what you just heard. We heard from the mayor speaking for the first time. He was not at the round table. I believe he said he had other commitments, but what did you hear?
Well, I said to you off camera that Mayor Young is one of the most chill individuals I have ever met. He's one of the most even-keeled elected leaders I've ever come across. This probably has something to do with the way he was elected, with among so many people running, and he was a surprise candidate, if you will. But I think he reacted and responded during his press conference as he should have, and that is to take a position that there are some parts of the president's programming that I like. There are other parts that I don't like. I think that's a mature way of looking at, especially the situation we're dealing with now. That's probably his engineering background that analyzes all components.
Because I've heard a lot of people say he's in a kind of a difficult position here, a difficult dance, so to speak, to please everybody.
He's in a very precarious position because he knows that he's going to be opposed on both sides of the political spectrum, and I think that's why it's wise for him to do, as he said, to keep the main thing the main thing. One of the things he can do, and that he has done, and that you guys have reported on, is the meeting with the Chamber of Commerce, the school board, myself, and others in his administration to do what we can do. And after that first meeting, we haven't been able to reconvene because of the Chamber's reticence to participate. I don't know why, but that's the kind of thing that we can and should be doing, even apart from the task force activity. I'm just thankful that the task force is here. As you recall, I called for them years ago, and it was a similar situation to what happened Friday night. If you remember, Alex, hundreds of black youth were running rampant on Beale Street. Somebody got shot, and that's when I initially called for the National Guard or something to protect our community. Same thing happens this past Friday night, and that's the kind of thing we can stem that.
Your thoughts, though, on the way that this roundtable with the president being in Memphis, Tennessee, was handled today. Was it needed? Did the president do the right thing? Do you applaud it?
I applaud it in terms of being a political move, a maneuver on the part of the president. I'm not mad about that. And I will say there's a saying, Alex, that it's the golden rule. He who hath the gold makes the rules. And right now, the president has the gold. And I think it's a waste of time to oppose something that you can't stop. Who here could stop what the president was doing? Who here could stop how he composed that roundtable? Now, I will say that I think it was a stroke of genius to have the young black woman, I can't think of her name right now. Yes, well, and her remarks to close out the roundtable, I believe, removed ammunition from those who would have attacked the whole thing as a purely political move.
So what about sustainability? What do we do next?
There we go. And that's what you and I have been talking about in the past. That's what Mayor Young is trying to make sure we do. We can sustain it if we take the next step in addressing the root causes of high crime, which is why the task force is here to begin with. I just hope that people don't get lost in the sauce, lost in the drama of the moment. Right. I think we can do that if, and I do have, I don't want to break news, but regardless of the Chamber's hesitation in participating in what they already committed to, there is another way that we can bring the commercial real estate part of the community to the table.
We'll have you back on so we can continue that conversation. Right. Very quickly here in the last 30 seconds I have, Memphis Shelby County Schools.
Yes.
State audit is expected to be released maybe as early as Wednesday of this week. State takeover talks continue. Where are we?
Let me stress that it is more than an audit. It is a forensic audit, which means it is intended to identify and uproot criminal behavior, fraudulent behavior. I think that if there are not indictments coming, they probably are going to be looking at them anyway. I think this is a good thing because we got to get rock bottom if we're going to get to where we need to be.
Dr. Kenneth Whalen, as always, glad to have you here. We will continue this for sure.